When was the last time you have sung at a bar?
Oh, well, I sang in Nashville with Justin Biltonen on the rooftop of the Underground on what's today? Sunday, on Tuesday night at the premiere.
That is a great, great story.
It's
That's awesome.
amazing.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and today I'm talking to Siobhan Fallon Hogan of Shelter in Solitude, which is coming to theaters on October 6th, 2023. I'm going to talk to them right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. Also, not a lot. Thank you. So thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Siobhan Fallon Hogan, the writer, star, producer, also singer in Shelter in Solitude, which comes to theaters on October 6th, 2023. It is a drama about life and decisions and some of the injustices that can happen because of those two things. It is powerful, it is interesting, and Siobhan is kind of like the all-star of the movie. So I'm so excited to talk to you, and thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, David, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So the first question is like, you wrote this. What was the inspiration for this movie? It felt like maybe it was key to some recent events that have been going around in society, but I'm just curious kind of what was the spark for this film?
So, my dad was an attorney, and he passed away in 2008. He was a great guy, but big, like, looked like a big Tip O'Neill. He was funny. We were actually really close, and he represented a lot of prisoners.
Mhm.
And he would tell us about them. I'm one of five, and I'm the second oldest. He would tell us about his people that he represented at the dinner table, and I was kind of like fascinated and also a little scared. And so then he represented a prison guard. So we used to go visit our cousins in a little tiny town, Casanova, New York, and lived in Pompey, New York. So in order to get to them, you have to pass Janesville Penitentiary. And I was like, what's going on in there? And I wonder what if dad's, prison, his clients are in there and do they get along with the guards? So, and my dad always wanted me to be a country singer. So
I see a
I
lot
wrote
of
the film.
similarities here.
Isn't that crazy? So I wrote the film Rushed, which came out in 2021. And we finished the edit during COVID. COVID had started. I edited in France with our fabulous editor, Samina Miliani, who also edited March of the Penguins and many fabulous. She edited Rushed, and so I couldn't go to Denmark. I was supposed to go to Denmark because I'd done 3 movies with Lars von Trier, and they had recommended his composer Christian Idnes Anderson. I was supposed to go there for the sound edit, but because of modern technology, COVID hit. We were able to do it remotely. So it was April 24th that we finished the movie of the start of COVID, and I thought I need a big break. I'm exhausted. And I'm lying in bed, and 2 weeks later, this idea comes to me in the middle of the night. I quickly scribble it down, and I get up the next day, I see the paper, and I write it in like 3 weeks. I
Oh
feel
wow.
I feel like it was this crazy gift from my dad.
That's crazy.
Like,
That is a
I sound like a weirdo, but it's true.
no, I mean but it sounds like this is like based on your lived experiences, so it makes sense how you could write it
Yes.
so quickly, right?
Yeah, great. And then we filmed it in 16 days.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that nuts? That's what you do. That's what we had to work within the budget. You know what I mean? And Vibeke Muasya, our director, pardon me, she's Danish. She had to get back to Denmark for her daughter's wedding. So we
Okay.
jammed it in like 2 6-day weeks and 1 4-day week.
Wow. So, I mean, it sounds like this was so Rush. How did you prepare? So, Rush. Actually, I should mention I loved Rush. I really enjoyed it. I was in a fraternity growing up, and I thought it was kind of an
Oh,
interesting kind of exploration of
yeah.
hazing and kind of like some of the grief that could happen because of that. And so, I really did enjoy the film a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. But so because this went so quickly, how did you like have any time to prepare for your role, or did you even have to? Because it feels like this is kind of loosely based on your own life experiences.
I think so loosely based, but also because I wrote it, you're kind of in it when you're writing it, or at least I am. So
Mhm.
you're kind of in it and thinking of the role and thinking the way the character thinks. But I will say that I went away Labor Day weekend because I have 3 kids. My kids are, well, now they're 28, 25, 21. So my daughter was in college still. My son had just graduated. And the house is crazy. We got the dog. My dog Trudy is actually associated with the movie as well, because the town is Trudyville. So my husband's producer on the film, my son Peter's producer and music supervisor. He got me Justin Biltonen from Three Doors Down, who I sing with in one of his songs in the movie, he's not in it, but he sings one part and I sing the other. It's recorded in the movie.
Mhm.
And he got me Rob Banks, the fabulous rapper, and Fat Nick.
Wow.
So he's a music supervisor. He also plays the role of Chris. My daughter Sinead, who's now 21, she's graduated. She was a production designer, and she plays the role of Layla. So the whole family's in it. So I was like, I got to get out of here. And the movie was starting. It was Labor Day weekend, and I said, I gotta go away for a night and learn my lines. But yeah. So I think that because I wrote it, it wasn't that hard to prepare. I just kind of like lived it for so long.
For sure. And the next question I was going to ask is like, so because you wrote it and kind of knew this character, did you kind of already have a good sense of Val going in, or did her character kind of change and evolve as like the story progressed? Because I'm not sure like if you already had a good sense of her emotional growth, or if some of her quirks
I had
came
a
out.
pretty good sense of her. And of course, Robert Patrick, who played my husband in Rush, from the Terminator, everybody knows him, and Walk the Line, and all the many, many roles. He's been over, and he and I have he played my brother. We have a great rapport together and just kind of know each other because like a well-oiled machine. And then Peter Macon, who plays the prisoner, who's superb, as you know from seeing it. It's like I always say, he's like a young James Earl Jones. That he was the only one I really didn't know. I'm Dan Castellaneta, who's the voice of Homer Simpson. I put in a play with 35 years ago. My son Peter, of course, I know he'd knock on my door at like 2 a.m. I'm not nocturnal. I'd be like, "Mom, you want to go over this? I think you should say skedaddle." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" But yes, that's a good idea. Come in. So I was very comfortable in the role. As a matter of fact, being a producer, I'd have to have my phone with me all the time, and I'd be like in between shots, whether it's like a sad scene or a funny scene, be like to my husband, like, "Hey, are the porta potties ready? Are they clean? Don't forget, we got to get the meal here. We can't go to meal penalties." And Vibeke would be like, "Siobhan Fallon Hogan, stop producing and play Valerie." And sometimes she'd take my phone, steal it. She'd get the grip. I have to give me that back because I have to, whatever. But I also, now that you're asking this, I never thought about this, but I chose all the wardrobe for the movie.
Oh, interesting.
I knew the cowgirl jackets. I knew that I wanted to wear high heels. I knew she was a little cheesy and, like she's a bit of a cougar wannabe. And so I had the lashes, like a lot of stuff I had lived and was thought about it for so long beforehand.
That's awesome. And I do also love that you're dealing with everything. You're dealing with the movie's crap as well. Like you're dealing with like everything in this film.
Big time. So like the house. So in my little town of Castellaneta, I'm walking, I'm like, I got to find the perfect house for her. And I'm just walking by this friend of mine's house, Mary Judd. And I was like, I've never been in there. She's a little bit older than me. And I knocked on her door. I go, "Mary, how'd you like your house to be in a movie?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I'd love it." I was thinking of the exterior. I said, "Can I see the interior?" She goes, "Yes." And there's not one thing in that house that we decorated.
Oh, wow. That's so perfect, especially because you only had 16 days to film. That makes it so much
Isn't
easier.
that crazy?
Yeah.
Now, that being said, my daughter Sinead, production designer, she'd shop for all these kitschy things and that kind of thing. And same with Tracy Turi, who she's the food stylist in it. So she made sure that like the food was authentically Southern, and all those kind of little touches make it really authentic.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I did want to ask, because this is very much a family affair, and you always hear the phrase like "don't mix business with family" and things like that. What was it like making a film with your family? It sounds like it was a pretty well-oiled machine. It sounds like it was pretty seamless, but I guess it could go either way, right? Especially in tight deadlines.
Sometimes we're the Fighting Irish. Okay, so my father worked with my sisters in the law firm, so we're kind of used to this kind of thing. My father's one of 11. My uncles are all oral surgeons. All their kids work for them. Okay, so it was great, but like my house right now, that's why I came to a hotel for 3 nights, because I'm doing tons of press over the next 3 days. And my house literally looks like Auntie Emma Henry, like it twisted like a tornado. Everything's all over the place. And it's constant. Like there's things coming in, the DCP is the masters coming from France. We got to get everything out to the theaters. We got to make sure the posters are delivered. So it's so many things. And I'm trying to like enjoy this week, but it's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, it sounds, and then you are also handling a lot of the film. Like it's kind of like on your back.
So exactly. So we just premiered in Nashville. And so, for example, Rob Banks and Fat Nick are flying in from Florida for the premiere. And I get a text from the Airbnb. "We're so sorry, but the air conditioning broke." So I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have to book another Airbnb." That's one thing that I would not do again, is not the travel. I'm like, we got to get a travel agent. It's so
Yeah.
annoying. But there's you have to think of every single facet.
Yeah. It's like being a mother, right? It's kind of
Completely.
similar.
Completely. And you know what? I love working in my family because I mean, you know, there was a period where I was like, you know what? It's too bad I'm not like my dad, where I have like a profession where I could really pass it on, because you want your kids to be happy and secure. And then all of a sudden I write Rushed, and I'm like, my son was music supervisor in that as well, and he had a small role. He was Jake Weary's best friend in that, and my daughter Sinead plays Jake Weary's girlfriend. So this is very unusual in the entertainment, in the film business, to be able to do this. So I feel really grateful for that reason, that am able to kind of like pass that on to my kids.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's also great for them to have like this, like a physical symbol of like the family in the movie, right? They can see the
Yeah.
movie
And
there
like,
in the credits. They're part
yeah.
of it.
Now, when you see, I don't know what one you saw, but just recently my son was like, we need a much better beginning logo. So it's Emerald Cast Productions. So you have this flip, 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 flip of an emerald,
Mhm.
and it goes, and so anyway, every little detail was, my family's input. And yeah,
Yeah, no, that's like it sounds like it is both a blessing and maybe sometimes a curse, depending on how the day is going.
we
Yeah,
definitely need a bit of a break from each other. I'll
yeah,
tell you
exactly.
that. I mean, I'm in the hotel in New York, and I'm like, ooh, this is pretty great. I was going up the elevator. I was with these women from Aer Lingus, and I thought, I feel like I'm in a tap dance. I'm so happy.
The one thing that scares me is that I am like waiting for my kids to go to college so that I will have, that peace in the house. And it sounds like maybe that doesn't ever actually happen. So
I
because
don't think
you're
it
the
does.
hotel.
I don't think it does. And then when it actually does, you're like, I miss that. In between Rushed and Shelter in Solitude, then when Sabine took the movie in France, so what she does is she does like a linear edit at first, but as you saw the movie, there's like a lot of flashbacks.
Mhm.
So there's that down period. And my kids, Sinead was still in college last year. She graduated. My son was not living home. And I was like, where'd everybody go? So it's like you can never, it seems like you can never get that happy balance. But hey, listen, I'd rather have some action. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
With
exactly. It's definitely one of those like, be careful what you wish for kind of things.
totally.
Because as soon as you get it, it's
Totally.
going
It's
to
like
be,
it's like
yeah.
when your last kid goes off to kindergarten, and you're like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with myself now? Well, this is literally why I wrote the movie, because Sinead was the youngest was going off to college, and I thought, I am not domestic. I can't cook. I can't clean. What am I going to do with myself? Because as a character actress, you work 3-4 months out of the year. Yeah, you
Mhm.
pretend that you work longer, but you don't. I mean, I didn't. So I was like, my kids are my built-in audience, or like we would do, was just being a mom and doing what I had to do. And then she's going off, and I'm like, oh, maybe and I'd written one person shows over the years, but I was like, well, I've been an actress long enough. I've been in enough movies. Let me see if I can write. And so that's really where it came from.
That's
Fear of
awesome.
fear of loneliness, which
Well,
is which is, by the way, the one of the themes
mhm,
of the movie, because there's three broken characters. My character is, as I said, cougar wannabe,
mhm.
washed up country singer. She sang in Nashville once. It's kind of like she's like the Miss Havisham of country singing. Then you have Robert Patrick, who's in a terrible divorce, hasn't seen his kids, and what you would think would be the most desperate character would be the prisoner. But the irony is that he is sort of the classiest one of all, and sort of he's the first real relationship that my character's ever really had, with other than with a brother.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is a perfect time to segue to Peter Macon because I thought he was fantastic. Like
Oh,
so many of his scenes, I just like sat there. I was like, that is like it's so good and so subtle how he was able to kind of like
so subtle.
carry his
And
character.
he doesn't speak for the first three scenes. He doesn't speak. And by the way, so as I was saying, like it came to me from my dad, and I had this crazy calm over me, which I never really have. And David Goodman, who I lived in LA for 2 brief years, 89 and 90, and I lived behind my good friend David Goodman. We were backdoor neighbors.
Mhm.
Well, he was the head of the Writers Guild for years, and he just was a key player in the negotiations for the Writers Guild, which is why I'm able to do press and everything now. It's thank God.
Mhm.
And I didn't have that character cast. I had everybody, and I was like, what are we going to do? And Avi Kaufman and Liba Zakharov, who are amazing, kept sending me people, and I was turning down people that I had no business turning down. But I was like, nope, they're not quite right. Not quite right. Well, it was not till 3.5 weeks before that that David Goodman said to me, "Oh my gosh, Siobhan, I can't believe I didn't say this to you before. Peter Macon." I'm like, "Who's Peter Macon?" I'm sure he was like, "Who's Siobhan Fallon Hogan?" So I cast him, and day one I was like, "This is like a miracle. This guy's a genius."
Mhm.
He's played Othello all over the world.
Oh wow. Well, that I guess that makes sense why he has that presence
That
then.
voice and that
Yeah.
presence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you found him because he definitely
Oh,
for
I owe
someone,
David big time.
yeah, for someone who's so central to the movie, like
Oh yeah,
that is a critical piece of the film. So
completely. He had to be big. He had to have a deep
mhm,
voice. He
mhm.
had to be handsome but intimidating. You know what I mean? He's all of those things and more.
Yeah, he had to have like a calm power to him, right? Like that's the kind of
Exactly.
similar thing, like handsome but intimidating. He had to have a sense of calm, but also you could see like this
And
person could be
class.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to have class. He couldn't be
Mhm.
like a thug, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just embodied all of that. And he's just a brilliant actor.
Yeah. And speaking of other brilliant actors, so you have worked with Robert Patrick plenty before. So how did he get involved? Did you just like call him and say, "Hey, you want to play this
So,
character?"
so Rushed, I wrote the script, and Robert's really the reason why when he told me he liked Rushed, I was like, wait, if he likes it, well, let me send it to Lars von Trier, and that's how that all happened. And they produced
Mhm.
this movie. Robert trusted me. I go, I got another one for you. Are you ready to come work for $2.50 again? And he's like, he read it. He's like, I'm in. I'm totally in. And then Michael Oberholzer, who he was nominated for a Tony for Take Me Out, my manager uh managed him. And she's like, I have this guy. I was
Oh
like,
wow.
awesome. And then Patty Scanlon, who plays my best friend, I've been friends with her for 35 years, and same with Dan Castellaneta. Then, of course, I had my son, and Rob Fat Nick had been in the last movie. Rob Banks had music in the last movie. And then my son took me out to Nashville, and the other singers, Justin Bill Tonin from Three Doors Down and Todd Cameron, I met out there. And then Kyle Ward, who's our composer, he's just was a kid from town who went to Berkeley, and I gave him a shot, and everybody was like, "No, no, no, he's too young." I was like, "No, no, trust me, this kid's a genius."
Mhm.
So that's where I got them. And of course, my daughter Sinead plays a hippie,
Yeah.
and Avi got me, and Liba got Amelia Fowler and Sheikah Murray, who play the two daughters.
I love that this is just like your experience in the industry and the connections that you made and the kind of the
Yeah.
reputation you built up seem to just kind of make all this happen. But it's because of
Oh,
your time in, that you spent in the film industry that you were able to kind of throw this film together, get it made
yeah,
in 16 days. Like it's just an
it's
amazing
crazy.
accomplishment.
Like Avi Kaufman means so much to me, and Liba, her partner, but Avi back in the day, I was doing Saturday Night Live. I had been pegged completely as comedic, but I got cast in Shakespeare in the Park, and I played Phoebe in As You Like It. Elizabeth McGovern was the lead, and I was like, I was pinching myself. I'm like, this is awesome, right?
Mhm.
So Avi called me in to play a role in Dancer in the Dark, Lars von Trier's movie. This very serious role of a prison guard. When Bjork was the lead, and it went to Cannes Film Festival, won the Palme d'Or, and it was a very serious role. And I was like, oh, I have to cry. I'm totally pegged. And how's this going to work? And Bernadette, my daughter, who's now 28 years old, and a journalist. She's on camera now. And in New York, she was at the New York Post as the City Hall bureau chief. She just left, and she started at New York One. She was the hardest baby. She had ear infections all the time. And I was up all night the night before my audition for this Dancer in the Dark that
Oh
was
my gosh.
recorded because he was in Denmark and he doesn't even fly. I was afraid of flying. Now people do that. Now people record and all that. But in the back in the day, the director would be there. Well, so I was able to cry because I was so exhausted. And so then I was able to cross over from be comedic and serious. So that I really am so indebted to her.
That's awesome. You're indebted to your daughter being a troubling child, but
Yes,
an
yeah,
emotional building block for you.
exactly.
Um, so one thing I was curious about is so this was filmed, you said like in like after Rush, so what, like
2 years
2000?
ago, right now.
Okay. Okay.
We wrapped, we started September 27th, and we wrapped October 14th, I believe it was.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
really right now, 2 years ago. And Rushed came out 2 years ago, August 27th. So it started 3 weeks after, which is a really bad idea. I didn't know what I was doing, and I could only get Robert at that time. And it was when Screen Actors Guild with COVID, you had to test people every day.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, and we filmed in Syracuse and Casanova, which is the weather's bad there. It's second rainiest place to Seattle. It didn't rain one day except when we were in the interiors of the bar. And the bar, so we were in that for 4 days. I put out an email to my class of 79 high school, and I said, hey, I'm shooting a movie. I needed people to come dressed up as in their cowgirl and cowboy stuff. Who wants to do it? And like my entire class of 79 they're all the extras.
That is awesome. I love that. And also, like, how fortunate to have
Oh,
great weather right in
it
Robert
was a
Patrick's schedule.
miracle. Because look at now, it's like a monsoon. I mean, New York City was
Yeah,
just flooded out. I
yeah.
mean, what were the chances that was shine? And we couldn't afford to go another day over. Vibeke had to get out, had to get it shot. Robert had, it was just like, it was like, you were like in this boxed in.
That is amazing. Like that is like there's no other word for it. That is
Yeah.
amazing. And also, I love that your class got
Oh,
involved also, and they were able to kind of make it
yeah.
even more of a family affair, right?
Right. So now when I watch the movie, because I've seen it so many times, and like we'll be Friday night, we're gonna be at Union Square, Regal in New York City, and because we're doing, this Q&A, it's the opening night. And when I watch it, sometimes I'll just watch the extras. I was like, oh, there's Joyce. Oh, there's Mary. And I see my best friends from high school. My sister
That's
Meek's all throughout it. It's crazy.
that's awesome. And also probably fun, like you can like take screenshots of them and send it to them and be like, you should have been looking at the camera here or something like that. Or
Yes, exactly. Or like, hey, I like your outfit. I would make them send me options for their outfits. I go, let me find out. Here's the colors that we're going with. Nothing black, nothing white. And so every tiny detail was adhered to.
that's awesome. I mean, my class can barely get our like high school reunion organized, and you were able to kind of get them to a bar and have them coordinate their outfits. That's amazing.
Well, you know why? Because you're younger, and really at this stage, you're so excited to get together. So it's like, I mean, people came from all over, and like if they didn't live, in the area anymore, then they came back, and it was a huge reunion.
That is awesome. And did any of your classmates like was there anyone that had like a really good performance? I always love there was a podcast I listened to where John Hamm was talking about he got his like big movie break because he was in Band of Brothers and he was an extra, but he was always like focused and like in character that they just had to keep using him because some of the other people were goofing off. And so he just got a ton of screen time because of that.
So funny. I never knew that about him. Okay, but I've kind of an opposite story, which is okay. So my best friend Mary from high school married this insanely good looking guy, and he looks like a Roy Scheider, and he's got like silver hair. My kids call him the Silver Fox. The director was like, Chris Anklin, you can't sit here. You need to be the back of the bar because you're going to steal focus. You're too good looking. Stuck him at the back. But
Oh.
what's really funny too is it was a sober reunion because we're filming. So everybody's got these fake beers, and it was like a party. You'd be like laughing your heads off, but there was like zero alcohol involved.
So that's just movie magic, I guess. That
It was
sounds that
awesome. It was
yeah.
awesome.
But then hopefully after you could have a drink or two, right? Maybe
Well, they could. I had to
you
I
have to
mean,
go deal with the porta potties and the food and
exactly.
everything.
I mean, it was. I remember thinking one time I took the train from New York City to upstate, and then took it back, of course, when I used to work in New York as a receptionist at a law firm. I was trying to like make it as an actress. And I was on the train with this girl, and I was like, what do you do? She goes, I'm an au pair that's a fancy way of saying babysitting for this family in Long Island. And she said, she goes, I'm from a farm in Wisconsin. I go, how do you like it? She goes, well, it's weird. I go, what? She goes, rich people take naps. It's like, she goes, I work on the farm and then we party all night. You get about 3 hours of sleep. And I remember I was always like kind of I always had to have my 8 hours. So, but not when the movie's going. I was like, oh, I guess you can work with 3 hours. I guess you can work with zero sleep. If you're really passionate and you love it, you're like ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. Or I think for you probably just like you have to, right? Like there's no
Crazy
option. You
fun.
can't it doesn't
Right.
even matter if you love it, you just have to get it done. So
Gotta
it's
push through. It's like this week. It's like I was rolling my suitcase to this hotel and I was like, oh my God, I'm long in the tooth and I'm exhausted. But I gotta push the product. You know what I mean?
yep, yep. No, and you want to
And
make this succeed, right? You want to like this is
yes,
your baby, so
which by the way, it's so important to say, of course, social media is huge to us. So it's really important that they follow us on Instagram at Shelter and Solitude or at Siobhan Fallon Hogan. And like on Thursday night, or Thursday day, because my son, I know nothing about any of this. My social media for real, and I'm not kidding. I have a Ziploc bag with the cards, Shelter and Solitude. Like I hand them out. I go, I'm supposed to do social media. Anyway, that's social, and here's the media. So, but my son's like, every person that has a lot of followers, Thursday night has to tweet or do whatever they do to say this is the weekend, and because we were picked up I mean, we self-distributed this as well. So we formed a production company to do the movie, Emerald Kaz, and then our distribution company is M Film, sticking
Oh
with the
wow.
theme.
Yeah.
So when we found out, the day we found out we were picked up by AMC, and you ask about my family, there wasn't everyone was screaming. And then we found out right after that we got picked up by Regal. So we'll be all over the country on Regal and AMC are sneak peeking it a lot on Thursday night, but mainly Friday, and a lot of independents as well.
I mean, that's amazing too, right? Just getting that kind of
It's
distribution
insane.
for a small indie film is not
Yeah,
normal.
it's
So
so great.
yeah, that was awesome. So going back to like where this film was made, where did you find this prison? Because that is such a crucial piece of this whole story, and like it
Right.
was an impressive building, and like I don't know how you found one, and also were able to get like that much space in there.
Okay, so my sisters, as I said, my father was attorney, my sisters are attorneys, and they mainly do workman's comp. So if someone gets hurt, they were the attorney for this former prison guard who hurt his back. So they said, call him up, because I thought, let's see if we can get into the Janesville Penitentiary, which has since closed since the movie, or what are we going to do? And I called up this guy, and he said, there's a prison that's defunct in downtown Syracuse. Let me see if I can get you in. So
Oh
it's
wow.
behind the police station. No one even knows it's there. It's a disaster. There's stuff all over the place. There's lights broken. Like it's kind of like who did it and ran. Well, I get in there and like this thing is perfect, and the color's perfect. It's like this mustardy yellow, and so I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. It's a mess, but who cares? Now, Matthias, our cinematographer, comes, and Vibeke comes from Denmark, and I show it to them on a hot July day. And we're gonna start filming in September, and they just fly in. They're gonna fly out, and they're like, how are we going to do this? And Matthias is like, Siobhan, we're in the car. We were location scouting. We're about to go from there to the next place. He goes, Siobhan, in Rush, you didn't have a location scout. And that prison, I said, just trust me. He goes, the cells don't even open. But one of my friends from high school, Jack Griffiths, is a welder. I go, I need 2 cells to open. One for the prisoner, one for the guy next door. And I go, and he needs a writing desk because he's supposed to be a writer. So he takes a bench off of another, like a hallway, welds it to the wall. So there goes our little writing desk and the chair, they sits in a lot in it. But how Matthias, our cinematographer, who won, by the way, the Boston International Film Festival, best cinematographer, I won best actress. Anyway,
Humble brag right there, but I love it.
I'm
It's
just
perfect.
saying up brag, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, he would have to be those shots, like from the other side looking out at me, were insane because he's in this teeny tiny space.
Oh wow.
And it's hot and it's loud in there, So I improvise a lot in the movie. So I go, my God, the acoustics are good in here. Well, the acoustics were great in there, but they would drive you crazy. So if the crew's talking, Matthias is like, please, can we have quiet? Please, because it was just, sitting in that space and filming would just drive you nuts. And all the etchings that you see, like whatever, were what prisoners really wrote,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great for you. You don't have to like spend any money like trying to make it
I
look like a
know.
prison because it's already done.
I will say one of my favorite things to do is get locations. When you find one, you're like jackpot. Like, what about the little gas station? Do you remember that? When my son is driving the police car and he pulls me over, and there's that little Texaco gas station.
Yep.
That I was literally in the country driving to, so my Patty, who plays Clara, my best friend in it, that cool garage, that is my nephew's wife's parents' garage. I was at her baby shower and I was like, oh, look at this thing. And my sister Mary, it's her daughter-in-law. She's like, please, Siobhan, no. So I said to the mom, hey, Donna, could I possibly film here? She's like, yeah. Now I'm driving home from there. They live way out in the country. And I drive by that gas station and I leave the guy a note. Same with the cars. Like the truck, the pervert's little car, I left notes on people. I was like, hey, how'd you like your car to be in a movie? And they got everything.
And they actually called you back. That's not like,
Yeah, they called me back and they were like thrilled
skin.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are like so insanely generous when it comes to movies. Every single night in Rushed as well, we had to have a list to allow people, because there's so many people that want to do it, bring a snack like lasagna or brownies or whatever. Because they get the crew would get their meals, and then you end as soon as before you have to feed them another meal because it's so expensive. People bring chili and everything. So be like, hey, if you bring a snack, you can come and watch. So they'd be like 5 or 6 people a night, and they'd set up a table, feed the crew. They're happy. We're happy. It was awesome.
That's awesome, and that's also like a great little way to make indie films, right? Because like you said,
Exactly.
the budget is always so tight.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I do love that. Yeah, everyone called you back. Like if I got a note on my car that said, "Hey, you want to be in the movie?" I'd be like, "Nope."
I know. I know it's so insane. This guy, his name is Norm Button. He gave me that little car, and he and his wife just came. They came to the. That was the other cool thing. So we did this premiere up in upstate with where all the cast and all the crew that helped us up there and the local cast, and then you got to see everybody again, and it was so weird because a lot of them mainly were in like cowgirl and cowboy outfits, and now they're in regular clothes. You haven't seen them in 2 years, and it's like, and they can't believe the movie because they have no idea how it's how their scene's going to turn out, or the
Mhm.
inner cutting back and forth to the prison, and the country dancing, and all that kind of thing, how it's going to work.
And then they get to see it, and you get to like see the hopefully enjoyment in their face, right? You see,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. It's so insanely satisfying. Yeah, it's so great.
that's awesome. Going back to the prison itself, uh, there is a very emotional, big final scene. Was that also filmed in that prison as well?
Oh yes,
Okay, wow,
yes.
that's what was
Imagine that. So he had that camera. I will say that the prison is almost smaller than it appears.
okay.
And, and so he was up high on the bed, pointing that camera down at Peter Macon. And you're talking about the final. Oh,
The-
well, we don't want to give it, but yeah,
Yeah,
above it, like all kind rigging that camera just anywhere would fit in that
that's space.
yeah.
That I just that must have been a like a tough film to tough scene to film, right? It feels like that would be like tough for any actor and tough for anyone involved to like actually make
Yes.
that a reality.
Yes. And but again, I want to go back to that I would be able to walk away. And by the way, for Screen Actors Guild rules, you have to have a place for an actor to rest. So we got there and Robert's like, "So where's my room?" And I'm like, "Okay, cell number 16. We got that one open." And we put like a mattress down. But you know what else? I was noticing that night, and when you're in the edit, I would get nervous, and because Sabine is brilliant because we're a good combination because she's calm, calm, calm. And I was like, I want to move it and click cut. And she was so that scene when at the beginning, like when Robert Patrick and I walked down, or a lot of the times when Robert Patrick would walk down the corridor,
Mhm.
she's like, no, let it extend, let people feel that noise, the click, 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 and how awful it is and isolating and how lonely he is. She goes, that'll let, and I was like, okay, I'm trusting you. And then you realize it worked.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And then, like you said, the prison felt much bigger. Like it looked like a full like I don't know not maybe not Shawshank level, but it looked like a full like large prison. And the fact that you said it's a lot smaller than it looked is
Well, the
impressive.
hallway was long, but the actual cell was teeny.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, which puts the gravity of that situation, fully into focus, right? Like this is
Right.
his life for what was
Right.
it, 19 years, I think, or however long he
Yes.
was in there.
And I strategically, when we did the plan, the schedule, I had the prison be shot last. I wanted for the actors to do it in an order that they could get to that point. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we purposely did it that way.
Which makes sense. And also then by then everyone's a little sleep deprived. Everyone is
Totally.
probably it makes it
Totally. But
feel lived
the
in.
day we left that prison, I was like, hallelujah. Couldn't take it. Matter of
Uh,
fact, one of the gals from Syracuse uh she's Indian, she makes Indian food, and I had special Indian food for the last night for everybody, and it was like I felt like it was like the last supper, only it was awesome.
that's great. And it's a good way to kind of wrap up this whirlwind project.
Exactly.
And so speaking of kind of the end, I loved hearing your voice in the end credits. I was like, I made sure that was your voice. So were you always scheduled to, or were you always like slated to sing a few songs in the film, or was that just kind of like time and logistics and money all kind of
No,
came
no. So
together?
I was like, I want her to be an egomaniac, and I want her to constantly listen to her own music. I want her to be living in the past. So all those scenes where I'm listening and she keeps looking at her own CD. And so I wanted her to be just always listening to her own music because she's such an egomaniac. She lives alone. All the posters all over the bar of her
Mhm.
from 1996. And so the last song was a miracle because, and same with Justin Bill Tonan's, because people say to me, were those songs written for the movie or were they already written? So when my son found me, said Justin Biltono, Three Doors Down, and he had he goes, he said, well, what's it about? And I tell him, he goes, well, I got this song, Heartache Rodeo. And so it's unbelievable. You know, if Heartache was a rodeo, and I say, I've got scars on scars that have been cut deep. I'm sick of love walking out on me. And I'm like, genius. So
Yeah.
you're like, there's no way there's gonna be another fabulous song like this. So my son knew this Todd Cameron. And he's another guy from Nashville, but he went to school at West Virginia. So did my son, a little older than my son, and my son ran the WVU Barstool page or whatever. So he'd been in contact with this guy. He's like, hey, my mother's doing this movie. So I once again call him up and he goes, well, I got this one song. It's called Soul in These Boots. And it's, I've been scuffed up on the pavement and tore up in the mud. Started kicking through the pavement, and and I was lost until I found Amazing Grace, which is, she's religious, but she's a disaster. She drinks, she swears. She's not somebody you would call an exemplary character. But those songs, weirdly, can you believe that those were already? Can you imagine?
No, I know it sounds. When I heard them, I was like, "This feels like a custom song. Like it feels like it
I
was a
know.
song that was written for the movie." That's amazing.
Well, and Kyle Ward, the composer, he did write songs for the movie. So they wrote that song. I want to be a movie star and win that golden prize, but these days I'd settle to be the sparkle in someone's eyes. They did write that for it.
Okay.
And a guy, Dave Stefanik, who's great.
Yeah.
And the harmonica, Kyle got this guy, John, who plays the harmonica. And because he's like, well, Siobhan, what do you want the sound to be like in the prison? I said, I want it to be eerie. I'm thinking harmonica. I'm thinking like a violin. And so those guys were like genius. They'd sit and they go, what about, I'd go sit with Kyle with his like big screen and all his sound equipment, and his friend would be there and he have his guitar. He's like, what about this? He's like, and I was like, that's awesome. Do that. Let's try that. And it was, I love that part of it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And yeah, the music was really good too. Like the perfect job of setting the scene, especially in the prison. Like, so hats off to them as well.
Yeah, seriously. They did a great job.
So I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the movie. They probably will map a lot, right? Because this is kind of loosely based on things in your life. You can feel free to pass on any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Sure.
First question is, have you ever sung in public?
Yes, I have.
All right. What is your biggest live performance?
Biggest live performance, one-woman shows. I've done them quite a few times. New York City at the Atlantic Theater Company. And yeah, that would be it.
Beautiful. And so your character in the film, you already mentioned, had posters from a big performance that she had. Do you have any sort of big memento hanging up in your house or hanging up in your office?
Okay, honestly, my mother always told me don't be looking in the mirror too much at yourself, and I have no posters of movies, and it's pathetic. I really,
wow.
I did. People have cool offices, and I never did that, and I don't know why.
You should. I mean, I feel like you should at least have a Rush poster with everything signed. And
I have a Rush poster, but I don't have it up. I gotta get it up. I've been too busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't have time to hang it up because you had to go right into the next movie. So
it's insane. My daughter did say she's gonna film Shelter. I mean, frame it.
Perfect. All right. Well, yeah, that'll be a good first memento, and then you can build from that. So in the film, your character also gets a security kind of job. Have you ever worked security?
I have not worked security.
Well, excellent.
I was a clown at birthday parties. I've been every job under the rainbow. Who would have me as security? I'm a total weakling. It's like I couldn't be a lifeguard. All my sisters were lifeguards, but I was so weak I wouldn't be able to save anybody.
Yeah, but I bet you would be you would you would be liked by people, so they would maybe listen to you because of that.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you've also played security multiple times, so it's it works. When was the last time you were at a bar?
What was this time I was at a bar? My daughter, Sinead, is bartending, and last night I dropped off a sweatshirt because she was working outdoors, so I had to bring her sweatshirt, and then I left.
Oh, all right. Well, so you didn't even have a drink, but that's fine.
Yeah.
You were technically at a bar. When was the last time you have sung at a bar?
Oh, well, I sang in Nashville with Justin Biltonen on the rooftop of the Underground on Sunday, on Tuesday night at the premiere.
That is a great story. That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah.
It was amazing. I was like, I'm pinching myself. I'm singing on the rooftop in Nashville with Justin Biltonen. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
That is amazing. And I hope you got a picture of it so you can make a new poster of the time that you sung in Nashville.
I gotta get a wall covered.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Have you ever visited a prison?
Well, other than to film, no.
Okay. Have you ever written to a prisoner?
I have never written to a prisoner.
All right.
I will tell you, I've talked to the sheriff in Albany, New York, and there's a state penitentiary up there, and we're talking about gifting the movie to the prisoners after Christmas, depending on when we stream.
Oh, interesting. That'd be, yeah, that's a nice like holiday present, I guess, for them.
Yes.
Very cool. And the final question is, what would your last meal be?
Oh, my last meal, two slices of pizza. I came to New York. I had one grandma's and one plain pizza.
Oh no,
And
I meant
my last
your
meal in
your
life.
I was
I
like,
know
two
exactly.
slices of pizza is a great answer also,
Oh,
but
okay, wait. No, I know exactly. I've actually talked about this with my kids when they were little. We would take walks and I'd say, if you're on a desert island, what would you want to eat? I know exactly. I would have spaghetti and meatballs for my dinner. And then I would have vanilla ice cream with my mother made the best hot chocolate sauce hot fudge that you've ever tasted. That would be my meal with maybe some melted marshmallow on top.
that is a very wholesome, very kind of like American Midwestern kind of meal. I love it. It's
Totally.
perfect. Yeah.
When we were kids, we would go to an Italian restaurant. We never went out to dinner because there were so many of us. And we'd get to go like twice a year. And it'd be like around the table, we go, yes, may I take your order? Yes, I'll have noodles and red sauce. Yes, noodles and red sauce. And meatballs, because we called it red sauce because we're so Irish. We didn't even call it like marinara or whatever,
Mhm.
but it is.
Yeah. I love it. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you have that all planned out too. That's a perfect answer. So the film is coming out on October 6th, 2023. As you said, nationwide in many theaters, like much bigger distribution than you normally see from an indie film. You are
Yes.
out promoting the film, getting the word out, but I imagine you probably have some other projects on the horizon after people see Shelter in Solitude, go back and see Rushed. Okay, look for
Yes.
something next from you, some other writing endeavors of your part.
I'm in a film that I did not write called Eileen that was a big hit at Sundance with Anne Hathaway's in it. I play a prison secretary from Boston. Mackenzie Thomason and William Oldroyd filmed it. I wrote a play in June, and I want to start to like polish that. And it's about my mother's last day with all of us around her, and it's actually a comedy. And
Okay, all right. I'm curious to see that.
oh my God, it's insane. And so then and then I'm 3/4 of the way through another movie, but I'm terrible at the ending, so I have to really focus in on that.
All right. Well, if Rushed and this film have taught me anything, is that you will nail the ending and it'll be powerful and emotional. So I've no doubt that you will finish
Thank
that
you,
film.
David.
But
That means so much to me, really.
yeah,
Honestly, thank you.
for sure. But as you wait for those, make sure to check out Shelter in Solitude. It comes to theaters on October 6, 2023. This is the writer, star, producer, the singer, the kind of
Dog and
one
pony
woman
show.
show for this film.
And
Siobhan
if people
Fallon.
haven't seen Rushed, go back and watch it on Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
This
come
is
out and support us because being an indie, we really need people opening weekend. And we need people to share the trailer that they can see it on AMC, YouTube, or Regal YouTube and share that trailer and like it and just get people there if you like the movie because we depend on the kindness of strangers.
and those opening weekend numbers, but also definitely the kindness of
Yes.
strangers.
Yes.
Well, awesome. Yes, definitely. So definitely check it out. This is Siobhan Fallon Hogan. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure
Thank you,
talking to you.
David. Awesome. I appreciate it.
So thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Siobhan Fallon I keep saying Harrison. Okay. That was Siobhan Fallon Hogan from Shelter in Solitude, which comes to theaters on October 6, 2023. It is a drama about life, decisions, and some of the injustices that result from that. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.